Okay, it's on, good. In the summer of 2009, I was diagnosed with depression and anxiety. However, a lot of these symptoms have been present throughout my whole life. It took 21 years to seek the help that I needed because I was listening to all the voices telling me that I was wrong. I was just way overthinking things. I was being so overdramatic. My problems cannot be that big, and I was merely misinformed about my thoughts and my feelings. And so I let those voices dictate who I was as a person. And so I decided to let others write my story rather than writing it on my own. For most of my life, this had little to no impact on me because I didn't see a lot of the negative effects. I was a good student. I was well liked by others. I worked hard, and I looked and acted happy, or at least for the most part, or at least I thought. I entered college at Marquette University in the fall of 2006. And to me, like a lot of my classmates, I thought college was merely an extension of high school. So I continued the story that others had written for me. I was the goody two-shoes who didn't party, who studied hard, who never broke the rules in the residence halls. Now, don't get me wrong, those are great qualities to have, and I encourage them. But I wasn't being authentic because these weren't values, and this wasn't a story that I wrote for me. This was a story that others wrote for me. And in acting this way and in doing so, I was supporting the status quo that people created for me. Over the next 2 years in my freshman and sophomore year of college, I started to realize some of the way that people were treating me. Saying things like, "Christina, do this for me. Christina, will you do me this favor?" Well, if no one else will do it, Christina will definitely do it for you. I started to feel tired and bogged down and just tired of people taking advantage of this story that I didn't even get to create for me. So in the spring of 2009, I started dating someone out of character in efforts to gain back my voice and self-identity. What I didn't realize then, and only know now, was that in doing this, I was merely giving the control of my voice from one entity to another, as the relationship began to go down an unhealthy path. When the relationship came to a rocky close, news of it spread and gained the attention of a higher-level administrator at Marquette. And she seemed to take this odd personal interest in my story. Again, what I didn't realize what was happening was that the control of my voice was being handed over to yet another entity, as this personal interest took a turn for the worst, when she made me doubt my belief in myself and my mental sanity. I slowly started to believe that I was an awful, awful person. I came to believe that I was absolutely selfish, and I came to believe that what I had done was so inhumanely wrong. This downward spiral continued until I hit rock bottom and almost wandered down the path of absolute voicelessness. With my near-suicide attempt behind me, I realized that I needed to make a change. Something in my life had to change. And so in the fall of 2009, I started to look for that change. I looked to my friends, I looked to my classes, I looked to my job as an RA, I looked to my family and my faith. But alas, none of these things were yielding the solution that I thought I was quite looking for. All of these things kept me afloat after my near-suicide attempt, but none of these sources were giving me the voice that I thought I was looking for. What I was slowly starting to realize was that I had let others write my story for so long that I couldn't even recognize my voice anymore. So after college graduation and starting my graduate career here at Clemson University, I started to meet people who asked to hear my story. What was I all about? Where did I come from? Who was I? I could not answer those questions for the life of me. No idea, no idea. I was just kind of like, eh. So in the fall of 2010, I participated in a 10-week sustained dialogue called Good Talk, where we talked about our identities and we talked about power and privilege in today's society. A part of this process was to recount an identity testimonial. If you haven't heard from my talk already, that was what I was struggling with. So I froze when my facilitators told us that we had to talk about our identity. I had no idea what I was going to talk about, none. So when the time finally came, I simply began to tell a tale of how I lost my voice and how I was simply looking for it again. What I realized in telling my story was that my voice was there all along. I started to realize that the thing that I thought plagued me most was actually the most important part of who I was. So as I started to embrace this idea that mental health could be an integral part of my social identity, I started to slowly discover my voice. However, there was one thing still holding me back. Finding value and worth within myself for myself and not letting others define that for me. Now, for a really long time, my hair is what defined that for me. People used to tell me all the time how beautiful my hair was and how they envied me for it. How Asian hair is just so straight and so perfect, and how lucky I was that I could just jump out of bed in the morning and not do anything to it, and it was perfect. Right. So for a large portion of my life, that's where I derived my beauty from. That's where I found my value. In a conversation I was having with a mentor of mine, we talked about this idea of hair and hair memories. And what I realized was my hair was holding all of those memories of the people that tried to take my voice from me. My high school friends, my teachers, that guy that I dated, the higher level administrator that tried to tell me that I was crazy. And so I realized in order to move forward, I needed to make a change. I needed to start completely over from scratch, and I needed to do something for myself. So I cut it all off. And the same mentor that I spoke with initially commented on how free I looked and how light I felt. And I did, because in cutting my hair, I took back my voice. In taking back my voice, I finally was able to find empowerment for myself, within myself, and no longer from others or through others. And so I challenge all of you today to find those little yet incredibly meaningful ways that you can find that same value and worth for you, within you, and not for others. Thank you.